Hello, everybody. Beautiful, productive writers in the chat, like Kevin Jenkins,
You
right?
said beautiful. That disqualifies Kev immediately, unfortunately.
Oh, ouch. Like 8 seconds into the stream and already viewers are catching strays. This is why nobody watches Shelf Unstable.
It's my fault. It's my fault.
It's probably my internet. Your video keeps freezing, but it's probably me. I don't know if everyone in chat can see you smoothly or if it's just on my end and I just get to deal with Jimmy just
I'll try not to move a
on my
lot. I'll try to
There you go.
stand very still as I type. I think I can do that. Like this.
Like you sound fine. It's like Jimmy
Okay.
ventriloquism. You're just straight faced, but you can hear the
As
voice.
long as you can hear me, that's all matters.
Oh,
You heard
good.
me,
I'm glad
idiot.
Jimmy is smooth for everyone else, just not for me.
Dang. It's that
Well,
Australian internet.
it's the viewers that matter,
Hmm.
and it's the readers that matter, which is why we are here to make ourselves better writers, right? So we don't write for ourselves. We write for accolades, for viewers,
I mean, I
entertainment.
don't know. I'm just trying to prove to myself I can still write, I guess. I've been excited about this all day, though. I will say this. So, for those who don't know, I started a writing class this past weekend, and the course instructor was like, "Are you someone who schedules your writing time, or are you someone who writes when they have to?" And I was like, "Well, I'm certainly someone who writes with that when I have to, because I argue with myself. I argue out of it all the time until it becomes almost like I have a compulsion to write, and then I write, and then I blurt it out, and then I don't go back to it for 3 months." And I was like, "But I don't write a lot." And she's like, "Well, have you ever considered that maybe you shouldn't be that person?" And I was like, "I have not, but whenever you reached out and you're like, we should do writing sprints, I was like, this could be an opportunity to like actually schedule time." And I will say this, knowing that it's like it was coming, I thought about this all day and I thought about what I wanted to write. And of course, it felt insurmountable at first, but I was like, okay, well, what do you do tonight? Like one part, oh, I'll write a scene. Okay, I can write a scene. And then like I gained confidence throughout the day. I'm sure whatever I write is going to be garbage at first, but I don't know. Having a time and a place to write, an excuse to do so, is like very empowering, I think.
Yeah, I really agree. I set myself deadlines in the past that I just don't meet because nobody is pressing me to get them done other than me. And I am a terrible like self-rewarder or
Mm.
self-discipliner. You know, people that are like, "Oh, if I lose 10 pounds, I'm going to buy a new outfit." I'm like, "Oh, you could just buy the outfit without having to do the hard part." Like, "Oh, if I eat healthy all week, I get a cake on Saturday." You just get yourself a cake on Saturday. Like, I have no like self-discipline or reward center. It's just broken.
You're not willing to
So
dilute yourself, like, and make
no,
imaginary boundaries. I like that.
no, like NaNoWriMo every November. It's like, okay, we're writing 50,000 words. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna participate, but also not do that because nobody's making me. Um, but I also really like writing and having released a book last year and having had people read it and get
Mhm.
feedback. There's something so unique about the feeling of other people reading and like relating to and being entertained by stuff that was just in your brain before. And then you get
Yeah.
it out, and it's not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. But at least it exists, and then other people can engage with it. And it's like there's no, it's such a unique feeling. Like I had no idea it was going to feel the way that it did.
Hmm.
And then now I want more of it, so I'm gonna keep writing. But yeah, I'm the same way. I need like scheduled time. I don't have a class that's keeping me accountable. That's probably good. Is it an in-person class, or are you just doing like a online or like Zoom type thing?
So it's online. I wish it was in person. I did online school for a long time. And I mean, it's the only way some people can do it, but I totally prefer to be in person. So that was a little unfortunate. Um, but it was really good. I actually like the class I'm in. I found myself kind of in my mind being argumentative about some of the rules laid down. I have to remember that like it's a course and there's like there's guidelines that you have to follow because it's a course and you have to complete this thing, right? But
Mm-hmm.
one of the rules was never let anyone wonder who the POV is. Like you have to have the POV immediately known. And I'm like, oh, I don't like that. I was gonna hold that off. And it's like and the other thing was like, do not confuse your reader ever. And I'm like, oh, I was really looking forward to confusing a reader. Actually, that's very important. You know, like everything it's being listed. I'm like, I was going to do that. I was going to do this. But at the end of the day, it's a 6-page story is what I have to write. And ironically, that makes it way harder. Trying to tell she wants a 3-act structure in the story. So it's like a 3-act structure in 6 pages. And I'm like, how do I do anything meaningful in that time period? I think it's going to be a fun challenge. And like you told me yesterday, it's like embrace those kind of restrictions, because then you can grow from it. And I think that's a pretty good way of looking at it, I hope. But I've never really had many people read my thing, so I can't really relate to what you've gone through now that you've released a book. Do you feel ever overexposed by it?
No, because not that many people are reading.
Oh.
No, and also I think it's kind of the reception thing too. I was so surprised at how much people liked it. Like it has been like from all I've heard, I'm sure there's people out there that read, a few chapters and are like, nah, not for me, and didn't say anything, which is fine.
Yeah.
But everyone that I've talked to about it has really enjoyed it. So I was kind of waiting for more negative, like more like critiquey and feedback type things, but so far I haven't really gotten that. So I think once more of that comes in, I'll have like a fuller picture of what it means to have your work kind of out in the world. Because right now, we're a certain kind of person and our circle includes certain kinds of people. And, we all talk to each other because we have similar tastes, not exactly the same, but we all like value similar things in our storytelling. So it kind of makes sense that the people that we're closest to, that are the ones that are reading my story, are the ones that are really enjoying it. So I don't know. Maybe when the wider world starts reading it and starts going like, "Oh, you're so stupid. This isn't how this goes," and you're writing, maybe then I'll feel differently. But, for now, it's good. And I wrote a short story and I put it on Readsy. It was like a competition thing, and it was shortlisted for a win. And I got really, really, really good reception on that. So that was kind of like ease my way into getting strangers' opinions on writing.
I love that.
So I think that's like a really good way, or even if you wanted to like write more and get seen and be like somewhat anonymous and get critical feedback from people that aren't like us, but are also into reading short stories and like reading them kind of critically. They do a contest like I think it's every week. I think it's like $5 to join it. But the $250 prize if you win. And then if you get shortlisted, they give you like $25 in site credit. So like the next 5 stories that I submit are free to submit.
That's really cool. I did not know anything about. I've heard of Readsy, but I don't know shit about it. When I finished this short story, I absolutely planned on trying to keep it going and either making it longer or not. But trying to send it places to get feedback. But I will do so absolutely anonymously. I'm a weirdo. I have no interest in like linking the YouTube to that. Like I just want to know that it's like I don't want me to interfere. You know what I'm saying? Like
I sure do. That's why like I wrote Severed Echoes under a pen name for a couple of reasons. Namely because nobody can spell my actual last name and I don't want to like sabotage my own chances by people trying to search up my last name and just no one can say it, no one can spell it. It's just impossible. So I wanted to shorten it to something very easy that kind of sounds a little bit like my name. Like Anya Dillon. My first and middle name are Amanda Lynn. Like Anya Dillon, Amanda Lynn. It's like it's close. So I don't feel like it's a totally removed personality, but it's a lot shorter. I was thinking like long game. Like, okay, where on a bookshelf would this last name land? I don't want to be next to Sanderson. High hopes. And just get like completely just overshadowed between like Matts and Sanderson. So I went for something kind of like first shelf, halfway down, easy to spell.
That's interesting because you could think about the other way, right? Is like people are going to go to the Moss section, right? So you might just be right there. There are times where I found books that way, like going just, hey, what do they got for the George R. Martin books? They got any wild cards over here? And then like you see Jordan Martin and you're like, who's Jordan Martin? And it turns out it's just like a fanfic of Wheel Time and Game of Thrones mixed, and it doesn't work out. But yeah, that's interesting. I would have never even thought about that for like shelf awareness, I guess is what I would call it.
Yeah. It's probably just overthinking and pretty much doing anything other than just writing the book. Let me spend 6 hours thinking about the logistics behind a pen name so that I can just shove off this chapter for another night. That's what it is.
Those are things that you do have to think about, I think, whenever you want to do it as someone who wants to sell. I mean, I don't really think it's even a waste of time at all. And you're still in like the writing mind space, which is good. I think for me, I'm not even sure if I have any interest in ever like trying to be published or anything. I just would like to write some stuff that I'm proud of. Maybe that's what I'm more so after, which comes from a place of privilege just because like, I'm very happy with my career currently. Well, right now it sucks, but I like what I do. So like, I'm not necessarily looking to like change careers or something, but like if I could sell 1 million books, I'm sure I would change my mind. Right. Maybe maybe I'm just coping really hard.
I'm with Kev. I want to be rich and famous.
Hold the fame. I'm good on the fame part.
Anya Dillon can be famous. Amanda can just enjoy Anya Dillon's money.
Enjoy A-Ram.
Yeah. Originally, the plan was to just like really focus on writing because when I moved to Australia, I thought I wasn't gonna have a job, and then I still had a job, so I did not end up needing that financial incentive to like really push books through and market myself, which was the whole plan. And then when I ended up keeping my job, I was like, oh well, still too cozy, so still don't need to. So I feel like I'm lucky that I got Severed Echoes out at all. But I'm currently writing a novel that I've been probably working on and off for 7 years. And I feel like I'm finally good enough to do it justice. So that's what I'm currently working on. I'm like 60,000 words into this standalone, very secondary world science fiction-y fantasy story.
Interesting.
Which is a little different than a short story. Evie, I am working on the sequel. Don't you worry. I have a whole.
I mean, I was going to also be concerned. I was like, hey, wait, hold on. Back it up.
There's a plan. There's a plan. I need to finish the story. I need to get it out of my brain because if I don't get this story done, it's just I can't think about anything else. This is just like the thing that's overtaking all of my mind right now. So I need to get it done. It's like more than halfway done, I think. I don't know. Word count's hard because I want to try to go traditionally published for this one, but they're so annoying about their word counts right now, especially for debut authors. Like they just don't want 150,000 word epic fantasy from some nobody, unfortunately.
How many pages is 150,000 words roughly? Because I never know. People throw out word counts and I'm like, I don't really know. I know that big is like 300,000. Like I know that's like tad level, but
so apparently 150K is roughly 600 pages, and I think mine's gonna end in mine's gonna be 130,000 easy. And my problem used to be like, oh, I'm never gonna hit that many because I'm not long-winded. I just kind of get to the point. But now that I'm writing this one, I'm like, oh, God, I need to like actually pay attention to not going overboard because if I want to get this traditionally published, I'm maybe halfway there and I'm at 60,000 words. And these chapters are just going to get longer as the like climax happens and everything's coming together. So I really need to pay attention and watch myself right now. So
yeah, I mean,
so different and like same restriction as a short story, just a lot.
I've also heard
numbers.
I've heard a lot of different things. I've also heard that people, or I should say marketing, really enjoys bigger books because people feel like they're getting a better deal. Like they're paying the same amount of money for more pages, so people are more likely to like pay that. I don't know if that's true, but I've always heard that. But it's funny. I always feel like I'm too short-sighted to ever write a novel, but I also am complaining about being restricted to 6 pages. So I think I'm just never happy. I think that's just
don't like rules.
Yeah, let me do what I want, dude.
Relatable. But yeah, I mean, yes, to what you were saying, I think the restriction does kind of breed a little bit of creativity. I used to be really into poetry, and when I started actually using like poetic forms, like trying to stick to the sonnets and stick to the like the emphasis and where things needed to be and stick to the like line length, like all those little things. Like my poetry got so much better, so much better.
Hmm.
So I do think there is something to be said, and I know it's like a cliche, but like you gotta learn the rules before you can break them. But I
Yeah,
think there might
definitely.
be, fortunately, something to that.
Yeah, and I mean, also, if you think about the most basic parameters, like I think being able to write a really good 3-act structure story is probably a good tool to have in the toolbox, like in case you need to do it. Like that,
Yeah.
it makes sense to me, I guess. It was just more so me being annoying and being like, I have all these other ideas and none of my ideas fit into. So, like, one of my short story ideas was I wanted to have I think I might have told you this, but the conversation between a death row inmate and a prison guard. And by the end of the conversation, you're not sure who's the free one. Um,
Mhm.
I have no idea how to make that happen, but like that just does not work for what she's wanting, I don't think. Um, but regardless, I think it's gonna be really good. What do you think is going well for you right now in writing? Like, what do you feel good about?
Um, what do I feel good about? Oh God. Um, not much, honestly.
All right. Well, so what are you hoping that gets better then? Like, what are you what are you struggling with?
I feel right now, I feel like I'm struggling with the fact that it's getting so much longer than I would usually write. I feel like I just can't help reusing the same words. Like there are too many words
Um,
for one thing. There's too many because there's too many different ways to string them together and too many ways to mess it up. But now that I'm 60,000 words deep and I'm only like halfway-ish through the story, I'm like, how many times can I say someone looked at something or gazed at something or glanced at
mm,
something or like turned her head or walked over here? Like it just becomes an issue of like, I feel like, and I know it's not repetitive. When I read it back, it's fine. But like in the middle of it, everything just feels like I'm using the same words and the same sentences and everyone's just doing the same thing. So that's what's bothering me right now. And
mm,
I feel like I've hit like a level with my prose that I can't like get to the next level. I feel like
mm.
everything sounds really samey. Like there's no
I feel the
variety, there's no
same way when I write.
spice.
Hmm.
I did pick up this book, which I think I told you about, Elements of Eloquence, because
Hmm.
my like biggest struggle with writing is definitely making things like big and emotional, like the emotional speeches, the great orators, and like the
Hmm.
like ask not for what you can do for your country, vice versa, whatever.
Yeah.
So this book is all about that. It's all about like rhetoric and those big epic speeches and how to pull heartstrings with words and like all the different narrative devices of making somebody or making your language so impactful and like impossible not to get emotionally attached to. Those big Malazan speeches that just like,
Hmm.
oh, they bring tears to your eyes and like they make you want to run through a brick wall for someone. Like, how do you do that? Um,
That's something John Gwynn was actually really good at. I always
it's
thought.
this tells you how
He was
somebody
really good at
was.
that. And you know what you might want to watch? I know it sounds
Mm,
really strange. You should watch wrestling promos. You should watch some of the best wrestling promos of all time because
okay.
they're evoking emotion out of like a live audience. Very, very,
Mhm.
very powerful stuff. Like there's still some promos I can think of that give me chills. Um, so maybe that would be a weird source that you could look into, but I get that. For me, it's just like sentence variants and like everything just feeling samey. It's like
Mhm.
noun, verb, adjective. Okay, like I only know so many of these. How do I
Yeah.
make this
And
sound
then
good?
and then you try to mix it up and you're like, oops, passive voice. Like, oops,
Yeah,
this, oops, that, like did it wrong. So yeah, I don't know.
yeah,
C spot run. That's like where I feel like my writing level is right now.
yeah,
Yeah. But that's probably just self-sabotage and overly critical
yeah. It
nonsense.
is. It
And
is.
um kind of what you were saying, like your goal is to write something that matters to you, not to other people. And I think that's probably a harder goal than writing something that's going to matter to other people because you are always going to be the one that's the hardest on yourself. I've read some of your writing and I think that you are, yeah, you're a perfectionist and I think you're way too hard on yourself. And I think if you look at like the amount of effort that you put into like a YouTube video or pretty much anything that I've seen you do, you put in a very high amount of effort. So I don't think that there's no way that also doesn't translate to your writing. I feel like you always have the audience's experience in mind. And I wonder if a lot of that comes from the wrestling background. Like you are
Mm.
a performative guy, and there's no way, that isn't also going to translate to your storytelling. Like, you are a storyteller. You just are that, whether it's YouTube, whether it's wrestling, whether it's just like us chatting. Like, you're telling a story, you're engaging with someone, and you always do it really
Yeah.
well. So I wish you could see that this is going to translate to your writing. So when I read your writing, I think you have great perspective. And also, I know they, like, you don't have to be a chef to know that food tastes like shit, but like, if you are more familiar with the elements that go into something, which you are because you read so much and you read so critically and so thoughtfully, and you can take apart what works for you, why it works. If you can do all those things, like, you can recreate that with your own flavors, just like a chef. And so that's
Very
kind of what
kind of you.
writing is to me. Like, you're just kind of recreating the things that you like to eat or read and making it your own dish. Um,
Maybe the nicest thing anyone
you'll be
said to
fine.
me in many years. So thank you. That was very kind of you. I could do a lot of push-ups right now. I'm
You're
pretty
welcome.
fired up. It's very kind.
Well, instead of push-ups, let's do some finger push-ups. Got them.
I like it. I love it.
I think we should do some sprinting. I am going to edit these 1,200 words that I wrote last night because I don't care what you say. Edit as you write. Edit as you write. Don't just shit out a draft and then try and
I'm
fix
with
it
you.
later.
My only short story I completed fully, I just vomited. And when I had to go back and start editing it, I was like, oh, this is insurmountable. Like, this is just too much. And that's not to say if you edit as you go, you're not going to do more edits, but like, it's certainly better than like a dumpster fire. Like, I never want to open that document ever again because there's so many notes I would have to go through. So it's just not how I work. I'm with you. I like writing something, editing as I go, editing it the next time I write, and then moving on from that.
Yeah, even if you do like 1,200 words at a time, just get something out and then fix it for yourself, because future you is going to be so much happier if there's actually stuff to really refine rather than go back and be like, oh, this draft is just like insert shit in brackets. That's not a draft. That's just
No.
telling myself to do it later, and then it's a draft. So yeah, I'm gonna edit these words. I've been really into like slapping some headphones on and turning the lights off and then writing like 1,200 words on my free write with like a little clip light on it in bed at night, and I can just like close my eyes and just like write like stream of consciousness, just bleh. And then the next day I'll put it in like Readsy and edit it. So that's what I'm gonna do with this, and then hopefully this chapter will be done and I can do a new chapter. Are you working on Act 1, a short story?
Yes. So to not overwhelm myself, my goal is to write a scene tonight, because 3-act structure, I'm probably going to be looking at 3 scenes. And really, I think it's probably going to be 2 scenes. The idea is a scene with a brother and sister, and then cutting into like basically the climax, and then just like a postscript paragraph, I think, or something. But I've also thought about maybe doing a second act that is like a dream that the person is having. But I don't know. All I'm worried about tonight is writing first scene, because I know where I need to start to make it 6 pages, hopefully. I'm actually looking right now, and I just filled up nonsense for 6 pages. So that gives me roughly about 2,700 words. Doesn't feel like a lot, but
No, that's not too bad.
no,
I mean,
I think it'll be
it doesn't
okay.
seem like a lot, and then you start typing, and then you're like, oh yeah, I'm going in the zone. And you're like, oh, that's like 108 words. That's it.
Yeah, and that's double spaced at 10.5. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't, I can't remember what she told me the font had to be. I hope it wasn't 14.
That's crazy if you got font restrictions. That's like
Yeah.
power trip shit.
I'm just going to make it small and see if she knows. That's what I'm going to do.
Evie, I am a outliner to an insane extent. If I don't outline what I'm doing, nothing's happening.
I think that's actually pretty notable in your story. I think your book, because everything had a beat to it. Like every single thing that you did, I felt was intentional. And I think that's why the book moved along so very well.
Ben says I have like a pretty natural like instinct for where something should end. Like in a chapter. Now maybe not so much the end, because I know you have your quibbles, that's the word. with the pace of the ending. There's a reason for that. It'll be in the next book. That's what all the authors say, right? Um, but yeah, and I outline the whole thing, and then things can like change, and there's no like real scene like in the middle of the scene outlining. It's usually like I have kind of an idea of like an interaction in the scene, and then I pick like
Mhm.
the best starting place. Like, don't give them too much. Like, you don't want to bore them before they get to the meat of the scene, and then cut it off while they still want more. Like,
Yeah,
you always
leaving
want
them
your
wanting more is always the right thing to do.
yeah.
It's always, no one's ever mad that they wanted more. Well,
Mhm.
maybe there's extremes to that. Maybe there's extremes to that. But for the most part, if you leave them in a position where they would like to return to it or see more of it, like you've won, in my opinion.
I think a lot of it is we just read a lot and we know what we get bored at, and I don't want to bore somebody. Like, if I know that something's, if I'm bored writing it, they're going to be bored reading it, and I don't want to be
Mhm.
boring. So if it's boring, make it more exciting or do something else. And just, yeah, don't overstay your welcome, and don't make it take too long to get to where it's going. So
Yeah.
yeah. Um well, how long I don't know if you've done like writing sprints before, if you found like a time that works for you. I like 25-minute blocks.
I'm totally down with that. That works for me.
It's not what this stream is about, but
Should we
also
like the
probably
first
yes.
half?
Okay, I say let's do a quick 25. I got my little timer here. Last
I
time I tried
like
to
it.
do a sprint and had a timer, I like went to go make myself tea as the timer was like going off, and it was in my headphones, so I didn't hear it, but everyone in the chat was just like blasting everyone while I made tea for like 3 minutes. So we're not going to do that this time. We're going to use this.
Cool.
Um, and are you handwriting? Are you typing? What's your, you got like
I
the
thought
Microsoft
about
Word open?
handwriting. But I think to get started, I kind of just want to use Google Docs instead of handwriting. I actually like handwriting more. Um, hmm, now
I've
I'm
never
like
been a
maybe
handwriting guy, but this story that I started, I have been like handwriting, and when I say there is nothing as satisfying as this,
is that your
oh,
handwriting?
yeah,
How is it so straight?
there's lines.
Oh my God. Oh, is there? Okay. Your handwriting is
Yeah.
really nice. Mine is not
Um,
good. Mine's very bad.
there's nothing as satisfying as flipping through pages that you've written. And so I, of course, I abandoned this story 7 months ago.
I think the other
We'll get back
reason
to it.
why I didn't want to do handwriting is because I have a limit on what I can write. And I want to see
True.
if I'm getting too long, because the 6 pages acts first scene probably should be no longer than 2 pages, which is
Mhm.
insane to think about. Um, but we'll
Are you gonna
see.
have? Did she talk about like the length of the parts? Like, are you gonna have your act two be like longer than acts one and three?
She did say she thought Act One, because this week all we have to do is Act One, even though we're not turning it in. She said to be on pace,
Oh, okay, I
turn to Act
see.
One. So, but she said, that's probably gonna be like a page and a half. I'm like,
Mhm.
oh no, like like my dialogue could be 6 pages that I need to get out in this. But my plan is just to write it, and if it's not
Um,
working, like, oh well.
did you get any other guidelines like genre, theme?
No, anything goes. Anything goes.
Okay.
Actually, there's a girl writing light novels in the class. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Hmm.
Did not expect
Okay.
that at all. But yeah, she's a huge fan of post-apocalyptic fiction, the instructor, and I'm like, that's literally my favorite. So, but I also feel like I can't write it now because then I look like I'm brown nosing, like I can't write a post-apocalyptic type thing. But I
Did
don't know.
you
We'll see.
did you tell everyone in class to like and subscribe and follow your YouTube channel?
So I had no intentions of doing any of that. And but my freaking Zoom name was the
Oh
fancy
no!
network. And I was like, God damn it. Like,
Outing yourself.
and I had to explain it because everyone's like, what the fuck is it? And I'm like, no, it's not like a weird like sex thing. Like it's a pun on my name. Like, it's so
Incredible.
embarrassing.
Oh my god. All right, let's stop procrastinating. Let's stop being writers and be
All
writers.
right.
Okay, I'm gonna set this 25-minute timer. I'm gonna see if I can play music through these headphones and not blast everyone. And then I will see you in 25 minutes.
Best of luck, everyone.
Best of luck. think that's 25.
Ooh, we were cooking. We were cooking there. Okay.
Are we?
We might be cooking.
Did
We
we
might be
interrupt
cooking.
too soon?
No.
Can
I
we
think
pretend
it's
it has not
actually
been 25 minutes?
I think it's good. 436
Okay, good.
words, 2 pages.
Nice. That's awesome.
Um
You look like you're
I
feeling
don't
good.
I feel I can't it might be dog shit. I can't tell. You know, it's hard. It's hard to tell.
You look stunned by your own genius. That's what the
All
face
right.
is giving.
I'll read something I wrote, okay?
Oh my God, this is an internet shattering moment.
No. And I didn't edit this at all,
Just
but
kidding. It's no big deal.
I'm
Just
gonna read
read
with
it.
no context. This is like in the middle of it. It says, "My eyes met hers, and I felt my face flush red. Elena's eyes were intense, but also caring. I never knew what to do with caring. I never knew much of anything." She leaned forward. From what I've heard around the tavern, his method would be painless. The criminals would pay with their life, but they'd need not to experience any pain. Unfortunately, my big sister did have a point there. Armin, which I got from the chat, Armin claims the poison is painless, but how would we know? You can't exactly ask for feedback from a dead man, or in this case, a child. I was damn good at my job, but the Lord doesn't make us perfect. It was not uncommon to take a few extra hacks to make my way through the brainstem. But a child's? Surely that would be easy. Admittedly, I do not know. I've never executed a child before.
I'm about to go do some push-ups. That was sick.
I feel like
Oh,
I feel
go.
like when I wrote that, I was like, all right.
No, I love like the slow drip feed of the dark information. Like oh, we're in a tavern. Oh, painless execute. Child. Oh, it's my sister.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's good. Like, yeah. Ooh, that's yeah.
I'm trying hard not to over explain things, but like I do have to have some sense of setting. I think one of the things I'm
Say it.
struggling with, I've always struggled with this, is like setting. I just don't know how to like describe a room without being like, and then the drapes were purple and then the chairs were wobbly. You know, I don't know what to do.
So, yeah, I don't know how much it's necessary in a short story, but the things that I've tried to do are like rather than just describe the room as it is, describe it in a way that like the chairs were wobbly. Like she wobbled in the chair with the uneven legs. Like have your characters are like interacting with the room and like defining the way that they act versus just like the walls were white. Her 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 dark skin contrasted against what that was a horrible, probably racist example, but you know what I'm saying.
I actually had thought about this. So the opening of this is, it's not like I want to chop off the girl's head. That's the opening line, right? And I slumped into my chair that wobbled from uneven legs. And then while he's describing, because the part I'm writing now, he's getting angry and he's kind of explaining that, you know, at first he's like, well, it's a job and these are the last of the prisoners from this war and I got to finish it because I started it. And then like, really it's because he knows that if he doesn't swing the axe, that the alchemist who has been suggesting that they do lethal injection because it's more humane, the first time he refuses to swing the axe is his last opportunity ever to do so, right? And then he's out of a job. If he's not in the king's court, he doesn't get promised lands and all this stuff. So while he's explaining it, I want him to like be like, in this goddamn chair, like, you know what I mean? Like, because it's wobbling back and forth. Like,
yeah, no, that's good. That's yeah. Just as little like you don't need to describe the room and all its like dirty wobbliness, just enough for like the reader to get a sense of where they are.
I think I'm just bad at description too, because like, you know me, I don't visualize a lot. So like I haven't described what these characters look like. I have it, but I don't feel like I need to. But I know some people it's really important for, but I don't know. I have, like you said, it's 6 pages. So it's like, what am I going to spend time on?
I usually only spend time on looks if it's like important to the plot, which is probably not the best. Especially in a novel, like I don't describe what my people look like ever, unless it's something super specific and relevant. I think a lot like if I'm reading a book a certain way and I see them, and this might be because I visualize so clearly in my mind, but if I'm visualizing a character for a certain way for a certain amount of time, and then later on the author comes and like retcons my own like what I thought they looked like by describing them. I don't like that. So I try to leave everything like pretty vague unless it's like a character defining trait. Like
Yeah.
I have it right now. There's a person has an injury and it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And so it comes up a lot in their physical description. But otherwise it's a big deal.
Hmm.
Or like to describe the lighting, like the way that the lighting shines on someone, the hue it turns their skin when in the firelight versus the starlight. And which
I like
is
it.
like double duty of what they look like and also what the setting is like.
So do you have like a default way of the way you like to open scenes?
No.
Okay, yeah.
Let me look at like what I have right now. My scene, so this chapter that I'm working on right now is 1, 2, let's see. I'm trying to count the scenes in this chapter. No. One scene opens with them like reacting to something. So like something that happened in the chapter before, they're like reacting to that cliffhanger line. In the next scene, they're like thinking about what happened in the scene before. This one is like, here's what's coming next. And this one is like an action of here's what we're doing. So it doesn't seem like it. Not really. I just kind of, I don't know. It's so hard to like pin down the science or like the method of what's happening. It's just like, it's so instinctual to me, just what it should be.
Yeah.
That's not
I
helpful
think
at all. Sorry.
no, it is. I just like to hear how people like enter it because I think starting is the hardest part for most people. And for
Mhm.
me, like I'm like, well, where do I start? And one of the things I always like that George does is like he always starts everything in the middle of a scene. So you're like,
Mhm.
wait, what's happening? And how much context can you pick up? It's like the first book, then the prologue. It's like we should head back, and you're like, well, why are we heading back? Where are we heading back to? And it just immediately gets you asking those questions. And then I feel like if you do that well enough, you don't have to describe everything to a T because they're already off in their own head making their own things. Also, as a reader, by the way, like I just go against canon. Like Maquin in Faithful and the Fallen apparently is bald. Not me. He has long hair in my head. He has long white hair. So I don't even know if I care about character descriptions that much.
Yeah, I really don't think they're extremely necessary unless you're
Yeah.
writing like a romance and people are trying to insert their own feelings or
Hmm.
something. I don't even then, like, unless you're writing a fan fiction.
Hey, good place to start for a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah. I just don't know how to describe people very well. Like,
One of the notes that I have for my class was that to have the character interact with the
7
scene in the
centimeters
world.
long.
Wait, how many
My
centimeters long?
internet keeps. So I'm sorry, no, my internet keeps cutting out. See, it's so hard to describe like facial features. I mean, like her nose was 7 centimeters longer than a normal person's, and her hair was like here's the hex code for her hair color, like, and then I don't want to. You don't want to like describe skin colors as like food.
Yeah.
You don't want to describe. Yeah, it's just it's so it can be so like touchy just describing people 'cause you don't want to be like offensive, but you want to be specific. I don't know. It's hard. I just avoid it.
Yeah. Also, like avoiding static descriptions is something that I've picked up on, like from multiple sources of like writing tips. Is like honestly, kind of like you said, like if you're not interacting with it, or if it's not like part of the scene, then there's really not much of a reason to do so. I mean, you only get so many words, and
Mhm.
I think this is like one of the things in fantasy that like being predominantly a fantasy reader that is a fantasy genre thing, like describing every piece of clothing and exactly what kind of wood that the cart is made out of and stuff. Like that is very much a fantasy thing. When Bookish
Mhm.
ended up reading Game of Thrones, he was just like, I am so fatigued by everyone's clothing being described. And I was like, it's weird. It's like I actually don't think George describes clothing that much comparatively to like other authors, but I guess it is a lot. Like it is.
Well, it's almost like, especially in fantasy, like you have to do so much world building to get there. So you
Hmm.
kind of want to use it. Like Yeah, they're
Yeah.
not wearing jeans. It's a secondary world fantasy. So what are they wearing? And then you got to make sure that the reader knows, like, hey, these people aren't wearing jeans. I figured this out. So you got to kind of lead them somewhere. That's part of what I'm dealing with in
These
mine. Because, yeah, like, they don't have jeans. They don't have gowns. They have, like, tunics and shawls
mhm.
and robes. And
Kirtles.
so, damn it, Philip.
God damn it,
Um,
Philip. Curdle is one of my least favorite words in the world now, actually, because of that. Uh, but yeah, you can't just be like, this dude is wearing Levi 505s and he slays small, and that's
yeah,
the end of the Hobbit. Bilbo pulls him up and says, "This piece is done." It just doesn't really work.
yeah. Oh, and then
Uh,
it's hard because you don't want to say, like, even when something might be workable in a fantasy world, there's always going to be that, like, no, well, the root of that word is French, and they don't have France in this fantasy world. Like, can I say my characters have moccasins when there are no, like, Inuits and Native Americans in this world? Like, so hard to, like, have a balance between, like, real world things and fantasy world building, and also insert them in a way that feels natural.
Yeah, and us
Writing's
fancy
hard.
readers are nerds, so they're gonna pick up on all that and be like, "You think you're slick, but actually you're not." It's like, oh god,
Hmm.
I'm not really
No, it's
writing in the genre, I guess, for this short story. Like, I guess there's a king and an alchemist, but like that doesn't mean anything, right? It could be any time period, technically, I guess.
yeah, it could be far future. It could be science
That's what I was
fiction.
thinking. Post-apocalyptic, dark ages type shit. The stuff
Mhm.
I generally like a lot. Should I read Kev's
Mhm.
paragraphs? He wrote 2 paragraphs. Should I read them?
Sure. I want to read.
Yeah, I'll do my best, Kev. I'm not the best at reading aloud. All week, the hands on the clock had moved like a 97-year-old paraplegic trying to walk again for the first time in 70 years. But finally, another tedious week working a monotonous production job had come and gone. Alex shook the last bit of piss from Jesus, Kev, from his cock and stuffed it back into his underwear, of which there was regrettably little to put back. Okay, I'm not, Kev, you just trolling me. You're just trolling me at this point. I you
Well,
Amanda, why don't you take it from there?
I'd love to. He buttoned and zipped his pants back up. At the urinal next to him, Donald, the old man from the packing department, really, said in his scratchy cigarette voice, "Hey now, if you shake it more than once, you're playing with it." Alex ignored him, his patience for this job and the people thoroughly at an end. It was the seventh week straight working overtime, 10-hour shifts, 6 days a week. By the time you finally felt relaxed on Sunday evening, it was time to go to bed and get ready to do the whole thing over again. "Fucking bullshit," Mitchell had said. "Damn near 2 months straight of this shit. Is one whole weekend too much for them to give us?" And it seemed that, yes, it was going to be too much.
It's
Hell yeah.
good.
This seems
I
like
liked it.
this feels autobiographical.
Yeah, maybe autofiction. Is that what they call it? Autofiction?
Hmm. Like the
Kev
Mitchell
just
insert.
Kev just describing his body parts. That's wild. That is insane.
Oh boy. I mean, hey, any practice is good writing practice. Good job, Kev.
That's
Thanks
right.
for writing words.
That's right.
What the sprint is
Kev, you
for.
should balance
You've
that with
written
some
anything other
positive
than that.
things. Holy shit. Oh my
Oh my
goodness.
god.
Writing is fun.
Well,
So how do you feel about your 1,200 words that you wrote last night? Now you're going back over them. Like, how do you feel overall?
pretty good. I'm ready to be done with this chapter. Usually by the time I get, oh my god, this chapter's 3,800 words long. Ugh. I try to, like, stick to like 2,300. But there's so much to go through. I did actually write a little bit more. I wrote 185 additional words to kind of round out the chapter. I've got like 4 sentences before this chapter's over. Um, and
Nice.
then this is a big, big turning point. So I got to get this right. So that's probably why this chapter is so annoying to me. It's very important. But I am sick of this setting because this setting, world building, world building is hard. Yes. City building is somehow harder because it's like so much closer and you have to pay so much more attention to like everything. And like on a world building scale, things you can be a little hand wavy and like, no, it's just the god. Oh, that's just culture. But in a city, I'm like, I'm out here researching like how many children, what is the percentage of children in a city population 5,000? Like, and it's annoying. And so I'm sick of the city, but also it's like a really important city. But they're about something that is about to happen. So I need like one more paragraph.
So the city won't be around
chapter's done.
After this chapter.
It will, but it's going to be changed. I have some. So the setting of this world is it's a tidally locked planet. So one side is always facing the sun, one side is always in darkness. And these two women from the light side have gone through some mishaps and found themselves on the dark side. And so of course it's like a completely different timekeeping system, completely different culture, completely different temperatures. They're not prepared for this. And so they're like stuck in this city and they're about to like leave to try and go home to the light side. And so they've been like guests in this city. So they've had a certain, and they're like scientists and diplomats. So they've had a certain way of interacting with the city as guests that want to go home. And something's about to happen where they are not going to go home and they're about to see the city in a completely different light. So it's going to change the perspective. The city's not changing, but the perspective of it is about to change a lot, which is going to be really fun.
That is really
so
cool.
far they've been like, oh, look, this city, let's explore it because we're like scientists and scholars. Let's be, and we're guests and we're welcome. Everything's great, and we just want to go home. And now it's just everything's about to go to shit. So that'd be fun.
I like it. Tidally locked planet. I dig it.
This story's consumed a large percentage of my brain for the better part of a decade, I think. It all started from a dream I had too. I had this dream of like being stuck in a cave and having to like suck on the walls for moisture. It was like a nightmare. It felt like I was down there for years. And like my teeth are breaking off, so I'm just like sucking on the walls of this cave trying to get water out of the cracks. It's horrible. And now this novel exists.
Damn. That is very vivid. It's very, very vivid. You used to keep a dream journal, right?
I still do. I keep a extremely detailed. Yeah, it is. I highlight highlight people, objects, actions, keep track of everything, recall.
You are fascinating.
I'm like crazy. The autism in it.
Oi.
Oi.
Bit of the tism,
That's what we call autism. A little bit of obsessive compulsive stuff going on, but yeah.
Well, I think
a lot of it's because it's so visual. I'm very, very visually imaginative, which is why I think writing comes easier to me maybe than it does to people who don't have that, because I'm just like, okay, picture what's happening and then just basically just transcribe what I'm looking at.
Yeah, I feel like you and I are so opposite in that, because I'm just so not vivid in anything.
Ooh, Kev put more in the writing channel. He was just trolling. I knew he didn't spend 25 minutes working on that. And that alone. I don't know if I want to say cock like 7 more times on this channel, though. My mother watches this channel, Kev.
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, Mrs. Dillon.
I'm just kidding. I don't think she might not.
I'd like to. My mom watches my channel. I think she has stopped recently because I just have been more and more absurd lately. Yeah, a lot of the stuff I want to write is actually inspired by my parents, for better or for worse. But I'm like, I could never share it with them then, because then they would see the way I thought of things. It would be. There is something odd about, I think, when people know you and read what you've written, depending on the subject matter, obviously. But I almost feel better if strangers were to read what I write.
Yeah, I don't know. There's been strangers that have read Severed Echoes, like people that I don't speak to and people that I don't know. Like my mom has passed that book all around her little retirement community, and just like all her little friends are asking for it. Like Ben's coworkers, other jobs coworkers have read it and liked it. So I'm like, there's plenty of people that I have not spoken to that have read this book. and it's harder when it's people you know. Like
Mhm.
it's like there's a scene in Severed Echoes where somebody's like taking a little swimsuit off and showing a little skin, and I'm like, oh my god, my mom has to read me like writing about shit, like getting felt up while she's kissing someone in a hot tub. It was pretty funny. She handled it. She handled it well. She's like, oh my god, Amanda. But
You should do
I'd rather
audiobooks.
I'd rather they read that than kind of like you. I have stories that are inspired by like my childhood, just inspired
Mhm.
by like I want to write a real solenoidy um,
Ooh.
type book about like a magical realism story about a small town in the grip of a very religious cult, and not so much a cult, but like just the what growing up in a very restrictive religion does to a young girl. That's what I want to write, and it's
Mm.
completely autobiographical, but it would be very based, and it would probably show some things that I would be a lot more afraid of people to know, like thoughts that I've had, and
Yeah.
ways that, like, I don't want my parents to be sad. Like, we're close now, and we have a good relationship, but there are things that in the way that I was raised that like really did a number on me for a really long time.
Mhm.
And I think, but I think they're worth writing about because I think that they could. I like writing to entertain. The book I'm writing now, Severed Echoes, those are entertainment books. But I do at some point want to like reach out to people, like as a person. Be like, this was my experience. These are the things that I felt. If you feel that way, you're not alone. I got through it. And
Mhm.
I used to feel like, oh, what could I ever say that would ever make a difference to anybody? But that was, like 22-year-old Amanda. She probably didn't really have a lot to say that other people would really resonate with. But 37-year-old Amanda has some experience and has gotten through that really
Mhm.
crap part and probably could talk to a deconstructing religious person from a small town and really help them. So I think I
Yeah.
don't know, it's kind of a duty if you get through something horrible and make it through and become a better person. You kind of owe it to people, especially if you like writing and you have like any kind of gift for entertaining storytelling. Feels like something you should do. If you can help, you should help.
Yeah, I think that we learn lessons, right? Like eventually you learn and you grow from that, and most likely it's not an original story. Most likely everything has come before. And it maybe it is a duty to try to help people through that any way that you can. I mean, I think like the written word's the best way of doing it. I mean, obviously religions have been propped up on the written word for centuries now, so I think it's a pretty good case for how powerful it can be. But I've always wanted to do something a little bit similar, but I've thought about in a fantasy context of sending two guys out on a journey, and one is me when I was a very religious person, and one is me, maybe not now, but maybe a little bit younger when I was a little bit more brash about my atheism. Like, and like, what would me talking to me look like? Because vastly different people with different mindsets and approaches to life. I think it would be, I think it'd be probably pretty illuminating of why I thought one way for so long.
Mhm.
And then ended up thinking a different way. I've always wanted to do that. I think it would be more for me maybe than a reader, but it would at
It
least
could be
be
it could be really
interesting.
healing. There could be a lot of
Mhm.
like yeah, there's things that I did and things like not to like place blame on a religion or the way that I was raised, but there's like you react certain ways to how you grow up, and then you act in ways that 10 years down the line you're like, oh my god, thanks for sabotaging my life.
Mhm.
And I think you should have empathy for your younger self and all of their mistakes. I think that could be like a healing journey, like seeing you like I don't know. Depends on how you treat your younger you character. I guess your now you character.
He will be
Um,
crucified. No, I'm just kidding.
oof, maybe not so healing. Um, yeah, writing can be like really therapeutic. Even writing
Mhm.
like for entertainment, I've found a lot of introspection in dialogue and just like a lot of like how we always talk about how reading can help your compassion and your empathy so much, but I think writing also does it. You're writing villains, you have to theoretically
Yeah.
you should be trying to justify your villain's villainy and seeing things from their perspective, and your hero and the victims. So you have to place yourself in a lot of different mindsets, and I think it's can be quite illuminating for your own state of mind.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that's like one of the harder things is like getting each person to have their own convictions and their own voices. Like I'm always amazed by that with authors. I think
Mhm.
Dave Mitchell's so good at it. Like he's so good at different voices. And
Mhm.
I often wonder like where those voices come from. Like if those are just made up in his head or if he knows people like this, because he writes some despicable people, like really despicable, but they're also human. Like they're real people that exist. Um, but I think that like the idea of like separating like pieces of yourself at different times in life like is a pretty cool idea, because we've all changed. Most of us have changed at least uh, over like what 10 years or 15 years, and a conversation between those two entities would be very fascinating.
Yeah, there's no way that wouldn't be interesting.
Mhm. Yeah,
Writing's hard, but it's fun, and
it
it
is fun.
can illuminate some weird stuff in your brain. We've been doing more yap than work here.
I know it's my fault. It's what I do.
No, it's good. I think even just getting into the mindset, even if we just do like 2 sprints, still getting into the mindset, and like any practice is good practice. The more you do it, the easier it gets.
It's
Say
also
that,
just
but
like a
I wrote a whole
struggle.
ass book, and I'm still like, I can't do it.
Well, I promise you, you can do it. I read your book. I really
Ugh.
loved it. Um,
Every time I go sit down, every time I'm not writing or I'm thinking about it, I'm just like, I can't do it. Like I lost it. What if I just sit down and nothing happens? Like, what if you just can't? What if like no? What if? And every time I sit down, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. And then you do it, and then you're away from the keyboard, and you're like, okay, but what if now I really actually don't know how to do it anymore? Every time, every time, it's ridiculous.
Joe Abercrombie
What?
said that. He's
So
like,
stupid.
you know, the thing about writing books is that you always have to end up writing another goddamn one of them. It's like, no one tells you that like you got to do the whole thing over again. And he's like, you don't start out at a higher point. Like you still just feel like a piece of shit when you start again. It doesn't matter what it is. Like
It
I
really
always thought
doesn't.
that was really funny.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, I don't know if this is. Sorry for missing this. Made up religion, real religion. I think in my story that I want
Is
to
there a
write, it would be a made
difference?
up. Yeah, it'd be a made up one, but it'd be close enough to be obviously a real one. But all right, this like magical realism, weird town, but like in this story, the religion is actually real. Like the God is real, and so all the adherents in this town are like actually praying to the actual God, and there's like a baptism that they can do, and it like brings the God into them. Um,
Mhm.
and this girl is about to be baptized so she can receive the God, but like in the middle of getting baptized the priest has a heart attack and dies, and so like the ritual gets messed up, so she can never have the God come into her. So she is like the one non-believer in this town of like actual full on adherents that know for a fact that God is real, and she is the one. She's like, I didn't get it, and so it's all of these people trying to like get through to her and heal her and be like, no, it's real, you have to be part of this, and she just like is incapable of doing it. And the how alienating that is for her in the community, and how much people struggle trying to like get her on the same page, and it just can't happen.
Mm, that's
That's the
really good.
plan.
I really like that.
I got too many ideas and not enough sprints.
I have
God,
so many notebooks full of ideas that maybe
yeah.
one of them will come to fruition one day. Anita said she would read that, so you should definitely
Thanks,
publish it.
Nita. It's my parents are dead. I'll read that when I'm like 70. For now, I'm gonna stick to my silly little fantasy books. Um, I have quarterly goals this year. So quarter one, finishing this novel, finishing it. Quarter two, be editing this novel and writing and finishing Cyber Echoes book two. Quarter
I believe
three,
it.
is editing Severed Echoes Book 2 and releasing it at the end of quarter 3. And also writing. Am I writing? I have like a Shutter Island meets Love Island meets post apocalypse book that I'm working on. So I gotta finish that.
I love that so much.
This is a very post-apocalyptic vampire AI sex doll book that I'm working on.
AI sex doll. I mean,
for a vampire.
There's like so many books that could remind me of, but none of them are all of that. You know what I mean? Like it's pieces of a bunch of different books.
Yeah. And then I have a series that I need to start writing, which is almost like a new Crobazon, like a Perdido Street Station town, but like a romance series. It's like
I like it.
It's too much stuff, too much shit. Talking about a whole big talk for someone that's finished one book ever.
You realize that like less than 1% of anyone in existence has finished a book ever, though. So you've done something pretty amazing.
Thank you.
And you can do it again, damn it.
I'm a trying.
I think you can get published. I really do.
Oh man, I don't want to do like the querying. That's like the stupid part. I'll write the books. I just need to. So here, new plan. I'm gonna blow this YouTube channel up. Blow this YouTube channel up. Like just content until I have a big enough following to where somebody just in publishing is like, oh hey, I like your channel. Send me your manuscript.
Because I can tell you, it does help. It does help whenever you can. Whenever you can say, hey, I have a built-in audience that will, you know, even if 1% buy this thing, that it'll give you this many numbers. Because most books don't sell over 100 copies. Like that's one of the wildest things. Is like you go in a bookstore, most of those books are not going to sell 100 copies.
That's crazy. Severed Echoes has sold more than that.
Really?
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Oh, that's so exciting. It's like, you know, when I started my YouTube channel, I got 100 views. I was like, holy shit. You know, I was like, well, this is insane, you know? And now, you know, obviously it's going to be at least a certain amount. And I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. You know, it's, I imagine that felt really good when you saw that third digit tick over from 99. I bet that was awesome.
It's weird. It's still weird. Every time I see like a new order, I'm like, why? Okay. Sweet. Like, but why?
Did you see an influx after I did my wrap up on it?
I think a couple. Yeah.
That's cool.
Like it's just been like steadily kind of gaining more. So there'll be like a stretch where there's not a single page read, not an order, and then the next day there'll be like 8 orders and 480 pages read. I'm like, okay.
Shit.
I just don't know. And then they come in from like all kinds of different countries. I have like a really big readership in like Germany randomly. I don't think Yolanda and Carlos are in Ireland, so it's not bad.
Yeah.
But like every month there's like a couple people in Germany reading this book. Okay.
How cool.
Yeah. And it's not translated or anything. And then yeah, when you're self-publishing, the list of just tasks just keeps going. Like I need to take an author photo, but like I do hair and makeup so infrequently that there's just never a good time to like take an author photo. And like I need to do a website. I need to put like
well, you have a website.
Acknowledgements.
Right? You have a website
on it. Yeah, there's not much on it. Just like outdated info. You put like the back matter in your books, like acknowledgements and like here's my website and here's where to find me and here's my mailing list. It's just like all the self-publishing like marketing. Gotta do an audiobook.
That's Ben's job. That's Ben's job. Ben
has a real job. Ben's been away for like 2 days. He's coming back today. So he ain't got time to do any of that. He's too busy actually making money.
And finishing Metal Gear Solid 2, hopefully. Snake! How many times have you heard that on TV?
When you guys are doing your thing, I'm up here with headphones on. I'm not trying to be part of that. I'm gonna start every time you want to like play a game and be like, Jimmy, don't you have pages to write?
Do you want to sprint?
We're gonna do sprints instead.
I'm just gonna be over here with a PlayStation controller, just
yeah, hiding. Like I'm definitely typing.
I got a writing processor on my PlayStation. It's crazy.
Oh my goodness.
It's called Dark Souls. It's very strange.
If you want to do another sprint, we should probably get to it. I
Let's
think
do
you
it.
have I don't know if you have a hard stop at what 9 p.m. your time.
Probably 9, yeah. Around there, yeah.
Okay. So that's in like half an hour. So
All right. Let's do it.
we're gonna do a 25-minute sprint, have a little debrief, and then schedule the next one, I guess. Because otherwise, this is just where our stories end.
Well, I got 4 weeks of 5 weeks classes. I can't remember for this class, and then I'm starting another one after that. So I mean, I have to write. So we can make this a regular thing, hopefully.
Yeah. Sounds good to me. Wait till this is more famous than chatting with nuts.
Probably.
It
wouldn't take much. You bring Kev on, your channel will get banned. You have to go to Rumble with all the other grifters.
Catch me on Blue Sky. All right, I'm setting a 25-minute timer. And I actually have to write words this time and not edit, so
yeah.
Here we go. Oh, this is just blasphemy.
Aneeth is just a hater. What does she know?
Leader. Never.
Condone it. Let's go.
All right. 25 minutes. Let's see you. See at 55-ish, 57.
Have fun.
Oh my god. 300 whole words. That's turned.
I can't remember how many I had before. I think it was 430. I'm at 921. So I probably wrote another like
Whoa!
450.
Jeez!
Yeah, we're
Oh.
kind of. I wrote 3 pages already, so I guess that I'm going to go with the 2-scene approach at this point.
Nice.
There's definitely some kinks to work out, and I think there's some extra, like some stuff I could cut off, be a little bit more concise. But I did like this piece. Um, Basically, his sister's about to leave, and then he's basically just been schooled, and then he like gives a pathetic last defense, and he says she's just a child, but they said she killed 2 of our men when they were removing her from her hut. Sounds to me like she's got a little bit of the devil in her. Not all children are innocent, sister. It sounds to me she really had no choice. I can find the innocence in that. I cannot, however, find the innocence in the presence of a better choice. And she walked out my door and into the night. Yeah, I kind of like that. Does that make sense? Find innocence in the presence of a better choice.
I really
I
like
cannot.
it. Does. What was the part right before it?
It sounds to me she really had no choice. I can find the innocence in that. I cannot, however,
Yeah, I
find
like
the
that.
innocence in the presence of a better choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I really have to get across the fact that if he were to decline, it's not treason, but that it's like there's another option essentially, you know. This alchemist is really trying to get his way. And I put a little line in there, it might be a little cringe, but it says, I have to do this because if I don't, I'm just another soul who's been swept away in the name of advancement. I feel like that might be a little too on the nose, maybe.
No. So what I'm learning from this book, from all these epic speeches, if it feels cringy, like you're probably doing it right. Like all of the big speeches or all of like the really important stuff, like if you just break them down on a word level, like they're cringe. They're like cringe as. Like
Well, you can make anything cringe too, to be fair. Like anything that
yes.
is emotion, like anything. That's why,
Exactly.
like when I watch like people's like rant reviews, like sometimes I don't find them all that appeasing because I'm like, you can make anything sound stupid. Like it's not that hard to do, you know. All you have to do is do a
Yeah.
baby voice, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, advancement took away my soul. Boo, boo, boo. You know, it's not hard to do.
Exactly. Yeah, and if you like if the person saying it doesn't feel cringe about it, then it's not cringe. Like
Mhm.
if your epic battle commander is like saying some shit that oh and we must run for our freedom and we must run for our children. Like, yeah, that's lame. But like if it's believed by the character, like it's not cringe, it's epic. So that's
Yeah,
what I'm learning. Just embrace the cringe and if they don't think it's cringe, it's not.
you
You
can
know,
get away with a lot if
like
you can immerse
everything is.
people.
So
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah. Just be beyond embarrassment and the world is yours.
I think that at 3, it's about 2, and I would say 3/4 of the 3rd page. I think I have to go directly to the execution scene, which I am gonna write probably next week. And my idea is that when they bring out the girl, her cuffs aren't even fitting on her because they don't have kid cuffs, so they keep sliding off, and the guards have to keep putting it on.
Ooh.
And he's like
Yeah,
watching it, and
that's good.
he's watching. He's just like, so here's another thing I was thinking about, but I don't think it's right for this class. But I was thinking about obscuring the fact that it's a child and having a really
Mm.
nebulous conversation about this execution. You're like, why does he care? And then the next scene opens up and it's a kid with the chain slipping off. And that's the reveal of like why there's this turmoil between him and his sister. You know what I
I
mean?
like
Like,
that.
I think that's
Yeah,
really effective. But
that's good.
she's like, don't confuse your readers. Like, don't, but I
I
think it'd
don't
be
think that's
really impactful, like as like the
yeah.
last caravan of prisoners comes in, like
I don't think that's confusing. I think that's just a good story. Like, uh, Ben and I have been reading a short story every day, and we're going to try and do it the whole year. I'm going to try and do it this year, but I've been like reading them out loud to him, and we found that like we're always looking for like a twist or like a reveal or something in a short story, and when
yeah.
it's not there, we're like, what was the point of that? And
You
maybe
know
that's
what?
just like high expectation. But every
I
story that we read that has a little subvert something, we're like, oh, But when it's just like a little slice of life, and then this was what's gonna happen, and then it happened. The end. We're like, what's the point of that? So I
You
love
know,
what you just talked about. I think you should do it.
another thing is I would have to keep that scene very short because it would be so nebulous. You don't want to go on too long where people are like, I don't even know what he's talking about. Like, why would a headsman be so upset about that? So actually, there's a chance I could cut down this scene and really, get more out of the execution scene, or put in the dream sequence, which I had. Um, I
Could
think that
lean
might
more
be the way to
into
go.
you could still have that dialogue, but rather than being a child, just lean more into like the innocence or like the presumed innocence of the person that's going to be executed. Like his crisis isn't that it's a kid, his crisis is that he doesn't believe that they're like
Hmm.
evil and he feels bad like executing someone that he perceives as like doesn't deserve it. Not because like they're a kid, which we don't know, but because like
Yeah,
it's a kid, they're innocent. So lean more into like the innocence angle of it, and we just think like, oh, it's just having a crisis of job, like wanting to do his
yeah.
job because he doesn't think this person deserves it. But then it comes out that it's a child, and then we're like, oh, huh, yeah, we might be right about that.
You know what?
I, like,
Actually,
I think it's a really good twist.
yeah, and right now
This
it's happening in
reveal.
his house, right? It's happening in his little hut. But if I did it the way I originally intended to, which was cutting into her like mending in the back of her tavern, mending his wounds because he got into a bar fight and got cut by a bottle or cup or whatever. And it'd be like, I don't know why they're mad at me. I'm just trying to do my damn job. Like if I don't do this, my job's going to get replaced by this poisoner. And she's
Mhm.
like, well, you don't have to do that job. You can work here. He's like, well, this is my thing. This is your thing. This is my thing. I'm not smart enough for this. Like, so this is what I
That's
do.
not smart enough to pour beers.
Yeah, I'm not smart enough to count
Way
coins.
smart enough to chop heads off.
Elena.
Yeah. No, that's good. I like it.
So I'm gonna have to rewrite everything, but actually, I don't care. I think that's much better. See, this is good.
Love you, Ben.
We love you
It's
too,
good.
Ben. Very
I'm
much.
home. I need Taco Bell so bad.
This was fun. This was good.
Fun. We should do it again. I'm glad it was so productive.
Me
I
too.
think my sprint was a little less productive because it was like right at the end of a chapter and then starting a
Mhm.
new one. So like 200 words at the end of the chapter, which is like a big ending. Like it was a big reveal. That was hard to get right. Like just like doing that. I was trying to shorten kind of what we were talking about, like shortening the sentences as you go. You want to like build tension. Everything's like happening a little bit faster, and you want to like
Mhm.
it's just hard. And so I was doing that, and then the next chapter is a direct that last chapter is like the kind of not cliffhanger, but you just don't want to because I have two POVs in this book, and I was tempted to like leave off that big reveal of this chapter and then go into the other POV, but I thought no, people would be pissed. Like you need to know what happens after. This is one of those ones where if you delay it too long, people are gonna be like, no, I want to know what happens now. And this isn't
Yeah,
that. And I think
that's a
you
hard
need to give it to
balance.
him. This one is one that you just need to go into it. Otherwise, you don't want to lose the momentum. There's too much like,
You
um,
know, ironically, Sparrow kind of annoyed me with that because the Sparrow has like, that Emilio Sanchez has come back from this alien planet and he's like mutilated, and you're like, what happened on this mission to this, and then it's
mhm.
flashbacks, but you're still getting it, and you don't find out what happened until the very end of the book, which actually does make the book really good. But I was like, man, it's hard to get into this other like timeline whenever I'm like, I want to know what's happening in the present day, like the
It
fallout.
almost, if you wait too long to give like catharsis or anything, it's almost like it feels kind of cheap. Like, oh, okay, you
Yeah.
hooked me and you're just keeping me there. And because you know that I want to know so bad that you're going to make me
Hmm.
deal with a bunch of this other crap that I don't care about to get there. And it always feels like, you gotta if your tension is like hinged on one thing and you just stretch that out for the whole book, like just waiting
Hmm.
to get to that point, like I feel like you need to be building and building and building. Like there needs to be a reveal and then deal with that, and then something bigger and then deal with that, and then something bigger and deal with that. Like it needs to like
Hmm.
ramp up rather than be like, here's the hook. All right, let I want to know so bad, and you just have to go through all this stuff to just know the book really pissed me off with that last year. Piglet by Lottie something. I don't know. It was like a big like hot girl book about something.
Hmm.
And the whole point of the book was like this girl is about to marry her fiance, but then she finds out her fiance did something horrible. And so then her whole life goes to shit. And she like keeps stringing you along. Like everyone keeps getting more information about what the fiance did. And so your
Yeah.
whole thing is like, what did he do? Well, holy shit, what did he do? And her life is just falling apart around her. I had this like horrible sinking feeling, like 60% into the book, like they're not going to tell us, are they? Like, she's not going to tell us. So I'd like, still.
Did we lose Amanda?
Oh, sorry,
back.
my internet keeps cutting out.
Oh, you're
internet.
good.
But yeah, they hinge the whole book on this like massive scandal and then use that to keep you there to read the book so that you eventually get what you wanted to know in the first place and then never get to you. And I was pissed.
Yeah, that'd make me
Threw that
pretty
book in the
mad.
trash.
Yeah, that would piss me off too. I feel like it's whenever YouTubers stretch out their videos to 10 minutes so they can run ads. It's like so obvious. You're just like, God damn it. Just like this video should be 3 minutes. Stop it.
Internet cutting out on you.
Oh no.
Kind of backwards third world country did I move to?
Oh, Brisbane.
Yeah, old Brisbane. Yep. Yeah, this was awesome. I'm actually like kind of fired up. I'll probably write a little bit more this afternoon. I'm like officially off work and gotta go take a walk or something, get my steps in, get the gears turning about this next chapter.
Did not get my steps in, but I did enjoy doing this. We should try to do this again next week, I think. I would be down for that. I don't know if it'll be Wednesday. It might be Thursday. But we'll work it out. We'll schedule it out.
Yeah, it doesn't matter to me. Either day is fine. So yeah, I also think we should stick to doing it because yeah, any kind of accountability, anything, please, anything.
Will I write between now and then is the question, because I have to rewrite all this. I'm not in any rush because like it's 6 pages and I have like a couple more weeks of class. So it's not like I have to write a section a week or anything. So, you know, maybe next week I will just maybe I'll subtract what I think I can use out of this and then next week try to reform it and write it in a different scenario. I might even play with the POV because I'm writing in first person. But honestly, I could probably write third person omniscient if I wanted to.
Well, there's no rule that says you can't just also write another thing.
Yeah.
In the meantime.
That's true. That is true.
Get more practice. Like write another short story. Don't write something without restrictions. Right?
Yeah. I am thinking like what comes next after this, right? Like the reason why I did this class is to give myself an excuse to write. Like I needed like some reason to write. And I just wonder what comes after that. Like if I can find a flow, I can find like a smidgen of comfort in writing. I think that it'll help a lot.
Well, I don't want to bust that bubble, but when you find that smidgen of comfort in writing, you let me know. Yeah, I'd love to know what that feels like.
Someone asked if it's community college. It is community college. We have a great community college here. Nice. Really, really good place. And yes, Kev, I would do reading sprints. If you do them on Sunday, I might be able to attend them. I'm not actually sure, but I might be able to. One last question, though. I have a question for you as a writer. How do you do your dialogue? Like I write it in the paragraph, I break it out of the paragraph. Like, oh my God.
It's a free for all. I'm a big fan of like blah 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 blah. She said the description. She continued. Blah, 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 blah. Next line. She replied. She then went over here.
Do you break it out of the paragraph though? Like every time someone talks, do you just start a new line?
Only when a new person starts talking. So like the same paragraph would be like, let me see, I'm sure I have an example here. Like because yeah, I love just talking about what they're talking about in the same line. Thank you, she said with sincerity. Continues on. I am sorry to have been such a burden on your residence. She wasn't sure how formal to be. Swara was gazing up at him with casual admiration, but there's blah, 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 blah. And then the next time the next person speaks, it's probably wasn't a very good example. But yeah, like they'll start their sentence and then you'll have your dialogue tag and then any like additional information. And then if they keep talking, it's in the same paragraph. So it only is a new paragraph when someone new starts talking.
Okay. Because I've seen books that do it both ways. And I'm always like, I'm just always confused by it. And honestly, I kind of understand why like people just don't do the quotation marks, because it's annoying as hell to have to hit the quotation mark button. You know, I'm like,
Yeah. I always just see like if you're having a conversation, new line is another person. Like, but if you're focusing on one person and what they're saying and then what they're doing and then they're continuing and then they ask something a different way and then they continue, it's just one paragraph.
Yeah.
With with dialogue or with the quotation marks around what they're saying.
Yeah.
I don't know how much sense this
But you're
makes,
not breaking
but
a new line each time. Yeah. No, that makes total sense. That makes total sense.
Because otherwise I'll think if you put the next sentence on a new line and it's the same person speaking, my brain's gonna go to the other person said that.
Yes.
Like,
Even if there's dialogue tag, I would still think that it was somebody else. I really am a big fan of when authors don't use dialogue tags. Like, I like when I know who's talking. I think that makes me like more engaged in it.
mhm. I feel like you can use them sparingly. Like if you're having a two-person conversation and you have Amanda said, and then the next line, blah, 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 that's obviously the other person. And then I feel like you can get away with that like a few times before it starts being like, shit, who said the last thing? And then you have to like kind of count back upwards. Like,
yeah, you got to be
the original
really
person.
talented to do with multiple people. Like I wouldn't
Yeah.
imagine that's a good idea.
I feel like that really only works again when they have like a very solid voice for people. It can work if like one of the people has an accent or
Yeah.
so like it's obvious that this person's saying it because they have a lisp and it's typed out that way that they have a lisp, and so you can tell that like the difference between those people. But it's so hard to like get a character voice so firmly recognizable.
Yeah, people who are able to do it, like the
off.
Abercrombies and stuff, like I don't. That's a whole talent in its own that I imagine I'll never have, because it's just so.
I get around that by never having more than two people talk to each other at a time.
Very good. I like that.
My casts are limited. I think Severed Echoes has like a total of 5 people that say something.
Yeah, I think that's right. 4 or 5, yeah.
Yeah, and only a few of them are in the room at a time. And same with the one I'm writing now. Like the majority of this book is these 2 women just going on an adventure, and they're just 2 chicks. And then every now and then there's somebody else, but not very often.
So Erickson told me, he said, just think of 2 big personalities and go send them on the road. He's like, that's how you write a story. It's like, oh, it's that easy.
Oh, sweet.
Thanks, Steve.
This novel is Erickson approved. Good to know. Hi, Derry.
Hey, Derry.
All about to live. Unfortunately.
Yeah. I'm going to eat a late dinner
Jimmy
tonight.
Up past his bedtime. I'm about to eat an early dinner. It's like 12:15. As soon as Ben gets here, I'm hitting the order button on that Taco Bell DoorDash.
It's awesome.
I'm not waiting. I'm going to hear the garage door open. I'm going to be like, order.
Hey, you deserve it. You I know you're not big on reward systems, but you deserve it. You wrote some.
So do you. I hope your dinner is delicious. Say hi to Mrs. Nuts for us.
I will. And I'll make her read my story.
Better like it.
She better.
So yeah, let's do this again like Wednesday or Thursday or whenever, but let's actually do it.
I'll be there. I promise.
Okay. All right. This is a new segment on the channel. This is the only segment.
Work, yap, repeat.
Work, yap, repeat. We are about to sign off, Jerry. I'm sorry. We'll be back Wednesday or Thursday at some time.
Yes.
And keep your eye on those notifications. If you haven't already, like and subscribe for Sean.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Keep, and remember to always keep writing the next page.
Beautiful. Just goes to kids.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Have a good night. I'll see you in Jimmy's Discord in just a couple minutes. Bye. My internet will